Hello there. All right, guys. My review of Obi-Wan Kenobi, episode 4, aka part 4. So I stayed up last night to watch this episode, and then I was feeling really tired afterwards, so I went to sleep, woke up, watched it again, and now I'm gonna talk about it. So I've actually seen this one twice already. Obviously, spoiler warning. So after the first time that I watched it, I was thinking, I think that's the weakest episode of this series so far, and I was kind of unclear how I felt on something, so I think a second viewing did help for me kind of clear things up. I don't think it's bad, but the story and plot structure just went in a very different way than I thought it would, which I guess in a way is kind of a good thing. I sort of thought that the show would kind of take a breather. Maybe Obi-Wan would finally be able to connect with Qui-Gon. Maybe there would even be some flashbacks to Anakin before he turned to the dark side. But nope, it just keeps going forward, and when I thought about it on the second time watching it, that does make sense. That Obi-Wan would now feel more committed to saving Leia, and that it's urgent that he does this now. And after my first time watching this episode, I was kind of thinking, was this act of the story really necessary? Like, how much did it really develop the characters? And what did it really do other than, giving us some action and just more things happening? And I was really noticing on my second time watching, yes, it is developing the characters more, although it's maybe a little bit more subtle than I would have liked. When it comes to Obi-Wan, at the start of the episode, Tala tells him that, it's not just his body that has to heal, it's his mind as well, which I kind of wish we had gotten to see more of that in the episode. Of course, I'm sure we'll see that before the end of the series. We have 2 episodes left. And breaking this 4 to 6 hour long movie into these 6 parts, I'm sure it's going to feel kind of weird at points, because we're not getting all of the story at once, and we're not exactly sure how the events of what we just watched are going to be followed up on. So we kind of just have to trust that everything happening now is setting up what's going to happen later, and everything's going to pay off and feel right by the end. Anyways, with Obi-Wan's character development in this episode, I think it was nice to see him coming back to being the heroic Jedi a bit, and I think they actually used action scenes really well to show that, how he's using his lightsaber again, he's reconnecting with the Force to be able to deflect blaster bolts and stuff, and yeah, I think all the action in this episode was used really well in order to tell the story and show Obi-Wan reconnecting with this part of himself that he had left behind. Also, something that was great was in the start of the episode when he's in the Bacta tank and they cut to Vader and his Bacta tank at the same time. I just thought that was some really nice cross-cutting, I think that's called, of these 2 things happening at the same time, and obviously there's these parallels between Obi-Wan and Anakin. Part of me wishes we had gotten something more out of that scene. I'm not saying there should have been a flashback there. It could have felt really goofy if there was, considering that that the Book of Boba Fett used the Bacta tank as a time to have flashback scenes. But I don't know, maybe something more there to show something about the connection between Anakin and Obi-Wan than just the flashes of their memory of the fight that they had in the previous episode. But yeah, when I really think about it, it makes complete and total sense that Obi-Wan wakes up in the Bacta tank and is like, "Where's Leia? We need to get to her now." And it is showing his growth as a character, that he once, at the start of the series, he didn't even want to help with this, and I was like, "No, this is urgent. We need to do it now." So meanwhile, Leia has been captured by Reva, and they are at Fortress Inquisitorius, which, by the way, even though we knew it was gonna be in here from the trailers and we saw some of it in the past episode, it was great to just get the exact references to, yes, this is on Nur, it's in the Mustafar system, just those canon connections. I like that it's very consistent. It just makes the whole universe and world building feel more real when they have things like that in there. Anyways, one of the areas where I think this episode could have been better is you have Leia and Reva together, and they do have this sort of connection where Reva used to be this lost, fearful child as well, and she does communicate that to Leia kind of to try to persuade Leia into giving over the position of the Path, I think is like the official name of this group that hides and relocates Jedi and Force sensitives. But I wish they had dug deeper into Reva and used Leia to somehow like break through her shell and expose her in a way that made her like a little bit more vulnerable, and maybe we would get more hints and get to see more of her past, or just something to dig into Reva more, which they did. You could definitely get more hints at Reva's past in this scene, but I just kind of wanted them to go further, and they're probably building up to that, so maybe it's something I shouldn't judge too harshly yet, but I just think like, you have Leia and Reva together for maybe the only time in the series. Like, you should really utilize those characters for, you know, for Leia to kind of break Reva down a bit. Anyways, we meet O'Shea Jackson Jr.'s character, who's the leader of the Jabim, the Path people. And he used to have a wife who was Force sensitive, and then she was hunted down by the Empire. Some nice little backstory to who he is and why he's involved in the fight, but we don't see that much of his character in this episode. Some of the Leia interrogation scenes came off as a little bit like silly to me, and I think it must just be because an adult is interrogating a child about this and Reva's acting like very serious, and I don't know, something about it came across as like kind of silly to me. Anyway, so Obi-Wan and Tala infiltrate Fortress Inquisitorius. Tala poses as an Imperial captain of some sort, or maybe not captain. I don't know. I don't remember if they said what her rank is, but she's some sort of an officer, which I mean, she actually is, right? And Obi-Wan dives down into the ocean and sneaks into Fortress Inquisitorius, very reminiscent of how Cal does in Jedi Fallen Order. This was a very Jedi Fallen Order episode, which I really liked how they took the inspiration from the game to make this in-universe connection to this place. Some of the ways that Tala is able to avoid being detected as a spy who shouldn't be there came across as like a little bit silly to me. Then some of them I think worked, like when she sort of like strong arms, is that the right way to say that? Where she speaks up very confidently to this officer that she outranks and persuades him to let her to let her into this like monitoring room or something. By the way, that officer, I don't know if he's named in the episode at all, but just since he is a ginger, it made me think, is that maybe General Hux's father? I think like Brendel Hux was his name or something, and maybe I might be completely wrong. Maybe he looks totally different, and that it might not be the same character, but that thought crossed my mind. I don't know if they're making a connection there, kind of, or not. But yeah, I thought all of the action was pretty great in this episode. I mean, stormtroopers, they're still not very threatening. We briefly see a purge trooper, although we don't really see them in action. Stormtroopers aren't going to be very threatening to Obi-Wan anyways, especially since he's like reconnecting with the Force. But yeah, I really liked the scene where the window cracks and Obi-Wan has to hold it off. Once again, very Jedi Fallen Order like, but yeah, I thought it was a well done action scene. One thing that I didn't expect that I thought was great, because it doesn't just reuse Fortress Inquisitorius from Jedi Fallen Order to make a connection to it, but it adds to the lore. Was Obi-Wan finds this sort of trophy tomb room where a bunch of Jedi that the Inquisitors have killed are like encased in like a sort of like amber resin, it seems. Just their bodies preserved like as trophies, which is really creepy and strange, and I really liked the visual. One of which I think is Terra Sinube from the Clone Wars, and briefly in the High Republic books. So that's sort of sad knowing that he died. I mean, you can assume that almost every single Jedi in the galaxy died by the time of A New Hope, but getting the confirmation still hurts, especially because Terra Sinube is like this nice elderly Jedi who has a fun little adventure with Ahsoka. I didn't recognize any of the other Jedi. I don't know, the youngling that they showed, they might have been in the opening scene of this show, or maybe they were in the youngling scene in Revenge of the Sith. I don't know, but it seemed like they were a near-human alien that's some sort of like horns or something like right above their ears. By the way, Obi-Wan using his lightsaber in the dark room and only lighting it up when he was close enough to attack one of the stormtroopers. Great visuals. It also called back to Ahsoka's episode in The Mandalorian with how she uses her lightsabers there. I just thought it was cool. Anyway, so Obi-Wan rescues Leia. They make their way out. And then more of the path people come in the, like, I forgot what they called them. T-something air speeders. They're like similar to the snow speeders from The Empire Strikes Back. They come to pick them up. And one of the funniest things in this show happens. There's a random pilot character. Like, he's not really like a character. He's just, you know, someone who's there. A random pilot helping with the rescue named Wade. They say his name over and over, Wade. And he gets killed.
Wait! I got you, Sully. Just go!
Wait, leave her. Come on.
All right, I'm on my way.
Wait!
Where's Wade? And this other random pilot, who we don't really know who she is very, very sad about Wade getting killed. And I'm sorry, but this was just hilarious to me. And I think it's just because like Star Wars has so many scenes where random pilots who you have no idea who they are die, and then other characters are sad about it. And it's like, oh man, I'm so sad that Wade died, god damn it. Can we get an F in the chat for Wade? I'm so sad, just like these characters. And it's so like silly and goofy to me. Really, for me, like one of the only scenes where a random like nameless pilot character has died where I actually cared was when Paige Tico dies in The Last Jedi, and that's simply due to the strength of the filmmaking of how great that scene is of her desperately trying to get the bombs out and like falling in the ladder and like all that. Anyways, R.I.P. Wade. He will be missed by all. Wade is the best Star Wars character. # justice for Wade. There's a great Vader scene where he just walks into the Inquisitor's like little office thing and just starts choking Reva for her failure. Except she didn't fail because she put a tracker in Lola to track them, and I guess they're going to find the path, which is sort of sad. We just learned about this path for the first time, and it seems the Empire might go and wipe it out in the next few episodes, which, I mean, that would be kind of fitting. I don't think there should be too many Jedi surviving during the original trilogy, and also I think this show needs to show the Empire still winning in some way, because the rebellion is not officially put together yet, and we're still during the dark times. So I think Obi-Wan needs to win in the way that he regains his heroic side and that he saves Leia, but other than that, I think the Empire should win in some way at the end of this series. So yeah, I guess that's about it. This was a rather short episode as well. It was around 30 minutes long, if you don't count the credits and the previously on, which is sort of weird because I'm sure it's just the way that they cut up this 6-act story. This one just happened to be shorter than the others, and I don't think they should have made it longer just for the sake of being longer, because I don't think they needed any more time to tell this part of the story. But yeah, I did appreciate it more on my second viewing, but for me this is definitely the weakest episode of this series so far. I think things will probably make more sense once I've seen the next 2 episodes and I see just where the overall story is going and how this act helped it get there. But yeah, I just kind of wish this part of the story was further used to develop the characters in a bigger way than it was. But yeah, R.I.P. Wade.